Hi everyone. So I wanted to walk you through how I approach the prompt, and I want to share with you the sample that I wrote, and we're going to break down my sample so we can understand the components of a well-structured paragraph that has a fully sustained response to the prompt. So here we go. The prompt was to, after reading the poem Identity, you were to determine whether you would rather be a weed or a flower, and you had to support your stance with evidence from the text. So here is my response. After reading the poem Identity by Julio Noboa Polanco, I have concluded that if given the option, I would rather be a weed and not a flower. In the poem, Polanco describes a weed as one to have broken through the surface of stone to live. Notice how I put line numbers in parentheses right after the end. I also used slashes to note where the one line ends and another one begins. With life being as short as it is, I have a strong desire to make the most out of my life. I want to be able to explore the world and ideas of generations past. I want to feel that I am truly living my very precious life rather than being confined to one place, which would render me ignorant of the world around me. Polanco goes on to say that as a weed, he would get to be swayed by the breezes of an ancient sea, carrying his soul. Now the poem said my soul, but because I'm writing about him, I took out the word my and I put his in brackets, and I did that again here. This tells the reader of my writing that I made that change to the poem. His seed beyond the mountains of time or into the abyss of the bizarre. And again, line numbers with a period after the parentheses. In this case, a weed would have everlasting life as its seed would continue to flourish and live on in the world of possibilities. Whereas flowers are harnessed to a pot of dirt, living just the one suffocating life, weeds actually have a future. Lastly, while it may be tempting, see what happens when you read it out loud? You fix your errors. While it may be tempting to be always watered, fed, guarded, admired, it comes at the cost of greedy human hands, where one's life is no longer their own, but property of whomever plucks the flower. To conclude, I would rather live a life that I am in control of instead of being chained down and owned by someone else who doesn't actually appreciate me for who I am, but rather my shallow looks that will eventually fade with time, leaving me useless in their eyes. So here's my fully sustained response, and I want to break it down for you for its parts. And as I'm doing this, I want you to look at your own writing and see if yours follows the same. So my topic sentence is my claim. Your topic sentence should also have a claim. Topic sentence is my claim, and notice that it directly responds to the prompt. So if you recall, the prompt asks, would you rather be a weed or a flower? So right in my topic sentence, I literally state, I would rather be a weed and not a flower. So I want you to look at your own topic sentences and see if your claim directly responds to the prompt and has a stance of I would rather be a weed or I would rather be a flower. And while my writing is about being a weed, it does not mean that if you wrote about being a flower that you're wrong. It just means that you have to defend your response with evidence from the text, and you have to have an argument for it. So don't think that weed is the right answer and flower is the wrong answer. I just chose weed because I felt I could write more about it, and it's more true to how I actually feel, which is why I'm able to write more about it. And then I'm going to show you how I defended my response. All right, so this next piece right here, this next sentence, this is my embedded textual evidence. Notice how I have my lead-in. In the poem, Polanco describes a weed as one, and then I quote my lines directly. And this is my textual evidence, followed by my citation. I'm just going to make a little note in here that says textual evidence. Following this piece of textual evidence is a few sentences of my explanation. This is my explanation. This is my elaboration. I'm going to highlight this one. And notice that it's two lengthy sentences. Here we go. Two lengthy sentences of elaboration that explains how the quote I chose supports my claim. After that, I introduce another piece of textual evidence. Let me highlight my other textual evidence in green so we could see the difference. So there's, ooh, that is not what I wanted to do. I want to highlight this. Okay, so here's my topic sentence, textual evidence, elaboration. Then I give another piece of textual evidence here. So you can see that I'm layering my paragraph. Claim, textual evidence, elaboration. Textual evidence, and then more elaboration. And you'll even see that within my elaboration in this next part, I even bring in a couple of lines of textual evidence to further support what I'm arguing. So I'm taking his words and I'm using them to support my own. And then I finish off with another piece of textual evidence. So this would be considered almost like a 3-chunk paragraph because there's 3 pieces of textual evidence and then 3 sections of elaboration that follow. And then my conclusion incorporates a little bit more elaboration. So I'm gonna color this one. Let's do blue. Because I want you to see, ooh, that's so dark. Can't even see the writing anymore. Let's go here. So we got claim. I'm gonna make this one purple-ish. Okay. Oh, because the comment's there. Okay. Claim, textual evidence, elaboration. Textual evidence, elaboration. Textual evidence, elaboration, coupled with my conclusion where I restate my claim. So now I don't state it exactly the way I did in that topic sentence, but I'm still essentially saying the same thing. I want a life that's my own instead of belonging to someone, which is another way of saying I'd rather be a weed and not a flower. So what I would like you to do right now is take a look at your own paragraph that you wrote. I want you to reread it and see if one has these components of topic sentence, textual evidence, coupled with elaboration, and then a concluding sentence where you wrap it up. But also I want to talk about the elaboration used. Notice that in my elaboration, I'm not just restating what the textual evidence says, but I'm actually going beyond. I'm sharing insight into myself, really explaining why behind my answer. So when you go ahead and look at your own elaboration, I want you to ask yourself, is this just a restatement of the quote, or do I go beyond? And also, when you're looking really closely at your textual evidence, reread it. Does it support what you're trying to say, or could you have chosen a quote that is a little bit more on point? I'm going to post this in Classroom, and I want you to revisit this if you need to again later. But for now, please review your own paragraphs. All right, thank you.